We're live. Well, today's going to be special because we have not just one Jeff, but two Jeffs in the room.
We have the original Jeff.
The
The
more
OG
Jeffs,
Jeff.
the better. Yeah, the OJ.
The OJ.
I can't tell the difference between y'all. Who am I talking to? Oh, God. Well, let's start with some introductions, I guess.
Okay.
So, Jeff Schlichting, I have known you, God, how many years now?
Long time. I guess I started with you guys probably around 2012.
2012?
Yeah, about
Oh,
then.
come on in, Brian. Oh, someone's coming in. Go ahead. So started in 2012?
Yeah, started in 2012. That's when I kind of met up with you. Before that, I was a chemist. I worked as in the quality control unit for DPT laboratories, and then migrated to the IT department. And so I had a corporate job, and it was really pretty comfortable. But I came to kind of an understanding that just the normal kind of corporate route, feed your 401k, and then eventually you get to retire, that may have been a bit oversold to me. And so I was looking for alternatives. And Kim and I had started a cleaning service, which was, it was a great learning experience.
Kim's your wife?
Kim is my wife.
Yes. And your boss.
And my, yes.
You want to hear something wild?
She is the...
Kim is my sister.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I didn't know
man.
she was your sister.
No, Kim. I have a Kim as a sister.
Different Kim. I understand now.
Yeah, it's a Jeff, Kim.
Wow. That's.
I just didn't marry my sister.
Yeah, that would have been
Wow.
odd.
Well, so you had the background, corporate style.
Just straight up, yeah, just straight up, 9 to 5 W-2 kind of a job. Kicked off trying to do something a little different with the cleaning service, and it was a great learning experience for me. And it's like, I know I will never open another cleaning service, and sometimes it's better just to find the things you don't want to do is as good as finding the things you do want to do.
Well, so to kind of like put a little out there, Jeff, you've essentially built a retirement, from DPT laboratories into doing real estate.
Yeah.
Through real estate investments.
Yeah, I retired about 2 years ago. I was less than 60, and I could have retired before that. Not so much. It was, where we were financially secured. It's not like, a good zillion amount of money, but we've got all our debts paid off, and we're sitting well in retirement. We have a son that got him through college, and so yeah, the real estate was life-changing for me. There would have been no way I could have done, I could have retired when I did be in a financial situation that we're in right now, if it hadn't been for, real estate and investing in real estate.
Did you have a background in restoring properties before you engaged in what you did, or did you you started?
Kim and I had done a couple of house remodels just for our personal use, and I can tell you that if your marriage can survive trying to hang wallpaper together, you've got a pretty strong marriage. But yeah, so Kim and I, we would always kind of had projects. We weren't afraid of projects like that.
Yeah.
And actually, it's an enjoyable thing. So like painting and changing the color, and new carpet and whatever. And but then we started looking again. Like how do we get beyond the 9 to 5 thing? And Kim was a principal at the time, so we were both, in established jobs. And then 2008, everything just kind of fell apart because of the financial crisis, and kind of dawned on me that seems like a lot of people are making money, and I'm kind of on the sidelines, with my 401k and a mutual fund, and sitting there getting like 2% a year or something. It was disappointing. I don't know what the numbers were, but started looking at what potential for real estate. There were so many foreclosures on the market at that point.
Oh yeah, that was like the prime investment time. Like it's hard to beat that market we were in.
No, yeah, it was, and it's one of those things you never recognize it when you're actually in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, especially, Kim and I, this is our first venture into rental properties. And so we bought a house in Sunrise. It was the first house we bought.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
visiting
I
the
brought
home
you
with
and
you on it. Yep.
Alex came out.
Yep.
And so
Were you scared?
No, it's not. Once you hang out there, it's
No,
not.
no, no. I don't mean the neighborhood, but purchasing your
Doing
first
like buying an investment property.
Right.
Yes, that was frightening. I would lay awake knowing the house had just caught on fire or something. I got one of the.
How did
one of
you
those
How did you
dumb
purchase it? Did you finance it? Paid cash?
Yep, actually that one was my first one through, and I didn't know any better, so I went straight up through Randolph Brooks, and Randolph Brooks is good. As long as you stay, kind of in the lane. So I guess we put, like 20% down or something, and it was I think they would only finance it for 15% or something like that, or 15 years. I'm sorry.
15 years.
The rate was good, but Randolph Brooks is probably not the first choice for an investor. As we've gotten into it,
You've learned
discovered,
more, and
right.
you've discovered other avenues and kind of perfected your methods.
Exactly.
So you acquired a property, and I know y'all put some effort into that home as far as renovations, but your goal wasn't necessarily just to sell it immediately. It was to rent it out for a period of time.
Right.
Why not just flip it? What was the incentive or the logic or what were you going for by holding it?
Well, first of all, it was generally considered a safer move to rent it. That's even if you flip it, your fallback position is always to rent it. And we actually bought it with the idea of holding it because at the time we both had corporate jobs, and so we were in a tax bracket that tended to kind of we were paying a lot in taxes. And so if we were to flip the house and make money on it, we would have, and don't forget at that time, there was like 1 million foreclosures, so flipping wasn't exactly the
it
right
was not
model.
a very
at that time.
advantageous position.
But even, and so as I'm thinking back on it, I think we would have still gone the same route, even if we were more in a market like today. When you're both fairly, high income, when you sell a house, it goes immediately to your earned income, so you get taxed against that immediately.
And it's short-term capital gains too.
Right. So if you hold it for at least 12 months, and our goal was always like 2 to 3 years, you would then be able to. You had some options. But first of all, you wouldn't be charged at the full rate like an earned income. It was based on capital gains tax rates. You got the depreciation that came directly off of your taxes, and then
So tax reasons was a big reason
Yep.
for it, but also the style of the investment in the commitment. Flipping's I think a lot of people make the mistake when they get into flipping. They think it's like, a second job, and it's not. It's a full-time job. And you're erasing, and time is money. And to do that with 2 jobs is a pain, whereas if you're renting it out,
Right.
you have that cushion of time is not a race. You want to get it done in a reasonable amount of time, but you're not racing to get a sale. You want to get it to the point where it can be rented, and the standard of quality for a renter is less than a flip.
So you don't need to put in hardwood floors and beautiful appliances for a rental. Our goal was always to provide the best value at the best price, or the best house at the best price. We always used Berkshire Hathaway's property management because we were working.
Well, y'all were working full time.
Yeah, so we were working full time. So the last thing I wanted to do was be a landlord. So there was enough room in the cash flow to where I was easily able to let somebody else manage it. And the other thing was that Kim and I were never shy. If the air conditioner broke, that's just, you have to take care of it.
It's just a part of it. Yeah, it's a cost of business.
And I think a lot of folks get themselves into trouble by taking on too much at a time. So when something unexpected comes up, they're stuck. They don't have $3,000 to drop onto a new air conditioner.
So for someone coming into this, let's start with big points of advice is you need a cash cushion sitting behind the scenes. You
Yeah.
can't play this game with razor thin margins.
No.
You're going to get burned by it. You're going to go underwater.
Yep.
The other thing is, I think I like the idea, and we've talked about it before, cash flow investments, even if you're intending to eventually sell them, you pick up the growth in equity over a few years, which helps pad your profit margins. You break out of the short-term to long-term capital gains.
Yep.
And if your goal is to, now you guys, did y'all use a 1031 as a tool on those? Or yeah.
Several times.
Yeah, so like you guys don't have to realize that that with taxes that growth and such, when you use the 1031, it allows you to build this big portfolio
Right.
and not have to be encumbered by paying large amounts in capital gains taxes every few years. You can keep rolling that into more and more growth.
Just rolls and rolls. And
You know
right
how,
now,
how I explained it to my dad when he was buying his first property, flipping versus renting it out? Your house is like a stock, and that stock pays you dividends every month.
That's a nice way
You
to
make
frame
your
it.
money when you sell it.
yep.
So you get a little dividend each month, and then at the end, you get your payoff when you sell it in
Right.
3, 5, 10 years from now.
Yeah. And then the appreciation is like icing on the cake. At least that's in our structure. We always look to cash flow, say $300 a month. I mean, we weren't looking to make a killing or anything, but I mean, if you think about it, $300 a month is half of a car payment.
Yeah.
And so you start stacking these up, and especially at that time, it was not super hard to get into a house because there were so many on the market. So the prices were really, really low. Interest rates were really low, and the banks
And you
were
weren't afraid
excited.
of doing work in the home, which helped
Yeah.
give you that nice
Yeah,
boost in equity on the property and returns.
Yeah,
You're maximizing your return that way.
Yeah, you can. The sweet spot is a house that's going to require like $10,000 to $20,000 today.
Yeah.
In that, because that's probably like primarily cosmetic. You got to paint the walls.
Flooring.
May have to put some flooring in, but that's really easy, and it's a lot of bang for the buck. So if you buy a house, you put $10,000 in to make it dressy, you'll probably be able to get an extra 30 out of it on the backside.
And I think this is your strategy. The reason I really like your strategy is it's so doable. It's not mountains of work. You're doing 10 to 20K. It's not 60K of work. You're not in a race against time. I actually think the amount of reward that you get for your investment increases by that strategy too.
Yep.
And it's scalable. And that scalability. So let's talk a little bit like on the scalability of this. So you're doing the 1031 exchange, which it's not a show on 1031 exchanges, but basically you're deferring paying taxes on it if you're buying another income producing property.
Right.
I'm not going to go into a long thing on that. But you basically take one property and with financing and leveraging the returns after a few years of growth, you get two.
Yep.
2 goes to like 4 and so on. And like you basically keep growing your portfolio by rolling that growth into other properties.
You eventually, the biggest factor, Jeff mentioned it, is fear.
Yeah.
To do the first one, that was so scary because, I mean, I look back on it now and it really, I wouldn't blink at doing that deal today. But at the time, it was because it was completely outside of what I'd ever done
All the
before.
what ifs.
Yeah.
What if we don't find a tenant?
Exactly.
What if we don't get money? How can I make double payments?
I was so what if, Jeff. That's why I went and got a real estate license.
To learn.
Exactly. I mean, it was complicated. I was going to be putting my life savings into it, or potentially. And so I wanted to know everything I could learn about it.
Yeah.
And that's opened a lot of doors in other ways.
Well, let's talk on that for a second. So, now that I'll call you this, a seasoned investor at this point, you've been through this. It's weird to think of it that way, but you've been through this process. How has your license, is that an advantage when doing this?
Absolutely. Especially in tricky markets, agents will talk to other agents because we know that we're professionals.
Yeah.
And it's not like an agent is going to try to hide information from a client, but you do have to be a bit guarded in your opinions, and that's a bit more free flow when you're talking agent to agent, and you know, and some of it is just a matter of not having to go through some of the niceties that we would if we were a client, you know, so it's like,
Well, good information leads to good decisions, and what better information? You're looking directly at the source. You don't, that it does. I will say, like, you could now, if for someone that's new that's not being licensed, I highly recommend they get an agent that knows. And like, if I was getting into investments now, and like, I wish someone, I would want someone to tell me, look, Brad, you need someone who's been through this before. And when you're interviewing an agent, if you're looking to for getting into investments, I would be asking the agent, what is your experience in this field of investments? Because
different.
That is very different knowledge.
We were just talking about it, that you have to put your personal emotions out of it.
Yeah.
And how do I feel in this house?
It's
not
just
about you.
It's not. You have to. It's strictly about money. And even though you like stainless steel appliances more than the cheaper black ones, you got to go with the black ones. Even though you like this more expensive type of flooring, it's like.
Who struggled with that more, you or Kim?
Oh, I did. I did. Oh, yeah. She's in our team. I'm the big picture strategist, and
I
she
think
is
being an agent helps you do that, because we do that all the time as buyers agents.
Yeah.
They ask me, what do I think about this house? And I'm like, well, I'm not living in this house. You're going to be living in this house.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I can give you material facts. Yeah, you need a new roof. Yeah, that's, or whatever. But the feeling of the house, it doesn't matter what I think.
Well, if you can bring it together and make it look in a certain way, nice, and have a certain cohesiveness of style, that does translate to value, but you can never forget what you just said. At the end of the day, I'm not living in the home.
Yeah, you try to keep everything. We standardized on paint colors. We standardized on flooring, so that when
if I went to your house, I'd be like, oh, that's Jeff's house.
They are all looked the same, and that's kind of the key. I in my own house. Well, Kim keeps fussing, but I'm big into color, and so like left to my own devices, I've made some rather rash decisions.
I'm gonna channel her. I could feel Kim. I'm gonna say I've said this to y'all, and I'll say this here is I love y'all's relationship. It cracks me up. Y'all it is the best marriage ever. Y'all love each other so much, and Kim, she just wants to love you to death sometimes. I see the look, and
with
she's
both
looking
hands,
at you.
right?
Literally love you to death.
No, it's fun. It's something that Kim and I did together, and like I said, it was for me. It was life changing for us. For Kim and I, it was life changing. I mean, we wouldn't be in the position financially we are now, and we're not stopping. That's the thing is that so it's like.
Well, we're gonna go look at one of your homes early next week. I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's fun.
we're redoing a house. It was built in 1929. It's a craft.
So Pier and Beam, eh? Okay.
Oh, yeah, and it was torn down to the studs on the interior, and we rewired the entire house.
Oh, wow.
We put in air conditioning, and we put new flooring in. We actually were able to keep most of the original flooring and refinished it, and it really, really looks nice.
You're very proud of this one then.
I am. This one did get emotional. But just because I was so deep into it,
are you going to be holding this one, or are you going to be flipping it?
We're gonna probably get it on the market in about 3 or 4 weeks. But I mean, if I didn't already have a house, I could, I would. But it's like I'm kind of naked on the debt right now, so it's like I got to pay this one off.
Yeah.
So this is a project. So so kind of like looking at this, as you grew in this, did you become more comfortable with larger and larger amounts of work?
This is by far the biggest project we've done. Most of them, and in fact, this was. I don't want to say it was it was a fun one for us. It was a challenge, and we were in a position. Again, we were in good shape financially, and what we were doing. We really wanted to kind of swing for the fences on this one. We didn't start out that way, but as the house came. really like this house. You guys have got to come see it. And
You're breaking your rule of being emotional on homes here. I sense this.
You're right, but Kim is the chief reality officer.
Okay. Chief reality.
And I'm unsupervised at the moment, so yeah, I'm going to go rambling a bit.
But you've earned it. I mean, you've gone. I mean, God, how
But it's
many
not-
homes have you done this with?
Probably 20 or 30 or something like that, maybe even a little bit more than that. But what's cool is that we're still going to make money.
No, yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's the game.
Well, you have fun. You get to be creative, and like I think that's one of the cool things with this is
and then we work. We don't do the work ourselves. Obviously, I can't swing a hammer, but we work with some really great folks. Philip Cardron and Benita, City Benita, or something like this. I should get that straight. I'll give them a plug the next time I get a chance. They really did a great job for us. We've used them on a lot of our houses before. You remember that one that we did at, oh gosh, I don't even remember. It was on the east side. It was a big monster house, and it had the big yard and
yes, with the shed.
Woodlawn, I think it wasn't.
Was it the one with the shed in the back or not? There was one you.
Yeah, it had a shed. It had this enclosed shed. So he helped us with that.
That was years ago.
Well, it wasn't that many years ago. It was like maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10.
That's years ago, Jeff. Good God.
Things move fast.
Dude,
but that was the biggest project
homes.
I had before this one.
Yeah.
And actually, we came in and Brad was like, "Oh, we could do this, we could do that, and we could do that."
Yeah.
And he's right. It would have been, but that's one where we pulled back and said, we're just going to, just sell it. And I'm sure the next owners did fantastic with it. It was a great property.
So let's talk about some of the nuance of the business, and like one area that a lot of people talk about is how do you manage and work with contractors, and
how do you find good contractors?
How do you work with them? What advice would you give to an agent who's considering getting into investments in contracting?
I go through handymans like every year.
Yeah,
because they're good at the beginning, then they get too comfortable and they.
Well, word of mouth again. Why would you want to be an agent if you're going to be a real estate investor? And it's exactly that. I can walk in. I've got resources, all around.
Yeah.
Hey, who have you used for this? Who have you all used for foundations before? And and you get straight feedback. So it's really nice to have the depth of being an agent, being in the environment.
And you get to learn their limitations too.
Oh yeah.
Because I have a guy that he is the best painter you've ever met in your life. I mean, he's so good that he puts this chemical in the paint where the paint don't smell.
Oh.
Huh. I mean, he's a great painter. You won't see no lines, anything like that. But he's bad at construction. But he thinks he can do everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I only recommend him for paint jobs. He's also an electrician too. He's a good electrician. But to build a carport, no.
And that kind of information.
But he says he can.
Yeah, and you see, if you were just on a phone call with somebody else and like a client, and it was more of an informal type of relationship, it's hard. That's not something that you typically share.
It's experience.
Yeah, you have to. I think to be successful, honestly, I think whoever is considering to do investments, I think would be wise to land themselves in a nice brokerage that can give you a lot of support.
Well, getting some referrals from other agents that have worked with investors, I think is actually really helpful. If I was some advice I'd give, because both of us have dealt with quite a few flips and restoration jobs, some things right off the bat. One, go look at their other work. I like to meet their previous clients. Hey, who's someone you work with? Who's someone you did a big project with? Can I meet them? And I like to meet them and ask, how did it go? Tell me about the experience, the timeliness. Did y'all have any? You can be honest with me. We're good. Was there anything you'd recommend in working with Jose or whoever and such? So meeting the people that they've worked with before is a good thing.
Right.
Constructing payment options. I liked paying by like in stages. That's what I like to do. Or I would do half of it. I broke it up into like maybe quarters, and I do give them half. And I felt comfortable enough. I give them half of about 2 to 3 weeks of work or something, and they get the other half then. But sometimes you have to pay people weekly. Different. What advice would you give, like in managing contractors and such financially?
If depends on the size of the job. If
Yeah.
it's something that's going to be done in 4 to 6 weeks, I would think 3. You've got to pay them up front to get the initial cost. You don't want them to have to go in the hole for that. And then you may pay them in the middle again. If it's a longer project, say 4 weeks or so, it's reasonable that they need to get paid in the middle. And then withhold the last payment, not to be a jerk.
Never give them everything till it's done.
That last payment's typically their profit.
Yeah. And so make sure that you get what you're looking for. Actually, by the time you got here, you've already either done well or you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing to consider is when you're looking to work with a contractor, or you're looking to buy a house, or you're working with an agent, make that decision up front. I've dealt with many contractors that told me they could do all sorts of things for, very little money.
Yeah. If it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, but sometimes it is true. So,
Sometimes it can be good.
So all I would advise is make sure you check out their references. You talked about that before. I think you would be surprised at how few people, say, hey, give me the name of some people that you've worked with before. And so they'll give you a name, or you'll get kind of a vibe whether or not they're fishy or not.
And what's beautiful about being an agent, you can do that before you even have a project.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing is, like, I used to, like, when I was looking at properties, I would take the contractors with me to go, if I was serious about a home.
Exactly.
Or even in the option period too, go out there, walk it with them. Another piece of advice is, if I'm getting bids and I have multiple contractors I work with, you write down, put in writing exactly what you want done. Do not verbalize it to them. Put it in writing. Be specific, so you're comparing apples to apples with bids.
Words are wind.
Yeah.
You've got to have it written
I'm going
down.
to use that. Words are wind.
I think I stole that from somebody else.
Brian, do you have any questions? Do you have anything?
I have one more question. So you bought your first house. When do you know when to sell it? When you're tired of it? When you get bored with it?
Well, no. I mean, first of all, we always put a ceiling on it. So the expiration date of a house typically is about 3 years. Okay, and the reason for that, you're going to come in and you're going to fix everything initially. So I mean, we weren't looking. I don't think anybody is going to go look for a move-in ready house if they're going to try to make it as an investment. You don't do that. You're going to expect it to be ugly. And you're going to expect it to have some problems.
Pull the mic over a little bit if you're talking to Jeff, or, if you don't mind. Just a teeny bit. Perfect. There we go.
It's awkward, but it looks right.
Yeah. No, where were we going? Help me out.
When to sell.
When to sell.
Oh, when to sell. 3 years is what our general max was, because when you come in, you're going to have to do work. I mean, that's part of the business model. We want to buy distressed houses. You don't want to buy something where you're paying a buyer's premium because it's retail and you're competing against consumers. So we want to come in and get the houses nobody else wants, and we get them for a good price. That's probably the most important thing, is buying it right is by far the most important decision that you make. But then, so you come in, you replace appliances like you need to, you may put the floors in, do some other stuff. You build it up, make it nice. After about 3 years, you can kind of expect things to start breaking again. And so
AC goes out.
Something like that. So our goal was always to try to move them after about 3 years or so.
Interesting.
And that helped. We're making good cash flow. And then when we sold it, it was like you were saying, when you sell the stock, you make the money. And again, we didn't go into it with the idea of speculating about what the appreciation might be, and we always treated it as sort of a nice afterthought. even
Well,
though
you yearly I remember this. You would yearly evaluate the progress. We would talk about like where do we stand now, and I could see you kind of running the numbers every 6 months or something like that. And there's more like just to add one thing on that too. You don't. There's one of the things about cash flow properties is there is some flexibility in how you structure this. And what I mean by that is you don't have to sell. There are other strategies. Like I like to hold properties. I like to wait for interest rates to drop, do a refinance, pull the cash out, lower the interest rates, and then take that money and then use that as the seed for another property. I don't like to sell.
So then you hold it.
But that one, guys, like I'm watching interest rates quite a bit.
Yep.
Another thing I like to do now with interest rates are higher, and I've seen some people doing this, is they don't pocket the cash that they get as a surplus each month. They're paying down. They're paying it down, the note, as fast as they can.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing with higher interest rates to think about.
On this, I'm assuming that the house is paid off.
well, no, you're generally carrying a note.
No, I'm speaking for a specific person.
Oh,
The houses are paid off. Ed Green used to say that his investors would keep the house for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he said because of something with taxes. But he never told me what that part was.
Okay, there is, depreciation can help. Like sometimes people own properties because they want those expenses, and you have like, I hate to call it a pretend expense, but you have this on paper expense from depreciation, and they'll hold it. And there's a certain tax strategy. They're using that to actually lower their basis in taxes. So there's some funny things you could do if you're talking to a CPA like that. And that's another interesting thing to note on this is like, there's a lot of value to holding properties beyond just like the cash flow. There's the equity growth, there's the tax benefits, and it's a tool. Like I bought a truck. Funny enough, my very first home that I sold on Coral Grove, I refinanced it because I realized it was cheaper to refinance my home, go to the lower interest rate, and did a cash out and bought my truck.
Yep.
There you
so
go.
like there's some cool stuff
Or you
you
buy
can do.
another house or whatever.
Or that, yeah. So just broadening the horizons.
So
a
I mean,
bit.
just to kind of
Yeah.
in the spots where you are. So suppose that you buy a house and it costs you $20,000. You've got, because you're an investor, you generally had to put 20% into it, and just to make the numbers easier, let's say you bought it for 100, you put 20 into it, double it, I guess. But then, to Brad's point, you can refinance it. You take out the equity. Now the house is not worth 100 any longer. It's not worth 120. It's now worth 200.
Yeah.
And so now you take the money out of that house, and you can use it to buy a truck. You can use it for buying another property. I used mine to put a deck on the back of my house. So
There you go.
Or whatever. Yeah.
it's a really nice deck.
Yeah, I want to see this. I want to see y'all's place.
Yeah,
So how did you find the properties? MLS?
Pretty much.
Foreclosure, auction? Did you go down the path?
I did auctions. I don't know that I ever succeeded in buying one. That was really scary because you have to do everything in cash. At least that's where it was. So you had to bring cashier's checks. And a lot of times you couldn't get into the houses. Now I did buy them through auction.com, which was at the time was sort of just emerging. I think it's pretty much the mainstay now. But yeah, the way it was when I first started was on the courthouse steps, and there was an auctioneer, and it was like all you had was an address. You may or may not have seen the house or even know anything about it.
Just a drive-by.
Just it, and that's all you can
You
do.
go look through the windows.
Yeah, well,
and you use wholesalers also and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And wholesalers have some great deals. Now, and again, for first-time investors, wholesalers especially, you are not their client.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are not those estimates they give you. You should just ignore
Throw them away.
anything they tell you. They're full. Excuse my language. They're full of shit.
They
when it
are.
comes to their
And
estimates.
so the wholesaler will identify the properties for you, and they'll find ones that have meat on the bones, so to speak, like we were just talking about as an example, and they'll find those properties for you. But what you can't expect is that you're going to receive the same degree of safeties and guardrails.
Honesty, transparency.
Yeah, that's you. It's not to say that they're wrong, but you can't expect it, and so you have to be able to know. Well, I need a survey. Well, the title company says you don't need one. Say, I want survey. Yeah, and to be able to have that kind of assurance to walk in will save you. Well, I mean, think about it. If you were to buy a property and it turns out that the property line was not where you thought it was,
That's the advantage of having a real estate license. You know things.
You understand.
You
those
know
things.
questions to ask that.
exactly,
Yeah.
and it was we saved ourselves a big headache by just having that prior experience and that knowledge, and plus you guys around. Brad was on a number of calls with me. What am I going to do with this mess? And so,
Oh God, we've had our fun over the years.
Oh,
we've
yeah.
had our fun.
We it was when I remember when I came in here, I was sure that you could get everything pennies on the dollar. It was kind of like like a Mexican flea market or something like that. You'd walk in and say, yeah, they want $20,000. I'll go for them $5,000, and see. And what did I know? I was like a chemist, and it was chemist IT guy. It was like marketing was not what I did.
But you do find the majority of it on MLS.
Yeah, well, most everything, and then once you get into it, you start getting a lot of letters for off-market kind of things as well.
Yeah,
Some
like
of them
emails
are,
and stuff, yeah.
some are really good. Most are not so good.
What property that when you're going through the MLS, what makes you go, I need to look at that?
The way I used to do it, and still do to some extent, is I would pull up the areas that I knew the areas that were going to cash flow well. Okay, so. It's not like the Dominion. It's not like Alamo Heights. That's not where you're going to put.
You're not going to live there. You're going to, yeah.
So in working class neighborhoods, so I would know that the subdivisions that I thought was going to give me a decent return on the house, and I would look at the listing prices and compare them to the tax assessments, and that the tax assessments were the easy way to kind of get a normalized number. So you go on Zillow, and I created a number of programs and stuff where it would go and it would look at Zillow and it would compare and it would bring out and get the top 10 houses to take a look at. So it was really just using it as a screening process. And so MLS is the same way, so I would put things up there where there was a significant difference between the tax value and what the asking price was typically saying that that's a house that has a lot of problems.
Where the list price is lower than what the tax rate is.
Yeah, to where, well, subjectively. So let's say the taxes on a house was, $10,000 or $5,000 a year, and they were all of them selling or somewhere around 250. But you have a listing for 150 or some significantly below where everybody else is. But you're comparing apples to apples because you can look at the tax rate and get a pretty good idea. It's probably the same house.
That's interesting using taxes on that. I would take an area, I'd discover the average price per square foot, and then I would that was my indicator, was the price per square foot was like 20% less, 20% less than the average of that area. And it was usually an indicator that there was a distressed property.
Right.
And that worked for me.
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to do this.
Let's talk about the F word.
Go ahead.
Foundation.
Oh, that.
Would you buy a house?
Absolutely.
You'd buy a house that has foundation issues.
Absolutely.
That's probably the majority of the reason why it's selling less.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all about, we said it before, it's the buy price. That's where you come in. So if you have foundation problems, again, there's no emotion. It's just math. You figure, how much it's going to cost you. You know what it's going to do. What the aftermath is going to be, and if the price is, this is what it's going to cost to fix. This is what it'll be worth when it's all fixed up, and this is the amount that I can buy it for. Mm-hmm. And so whether or not that's in line with what the seller is offering, who knows? But what it's worth to you.
One thing on foundations: do the work after the foundation work is done.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as you lift the foundation, all the walls and everything else, there's no point in doing any kind of painting. It was like you would see these houses that were all freshly painted and they looked all nice, but
are they in Woodstone?
They were all over the place. There was one house we saw where in one of the bedrooms you could see the grass because it had actually the walls had separated so far there was grass growing up underneath it.
God.
And but it was painted very nicely.
Yeah,
It's like
Jeff, I saw a home, and it was one of our agents had a friend. This is probably about 5 years ago, and they bought an investment property, and as a family, they restored it. Like they all worked together to restore this property. And it was really cool. And at the very end, the dad goes, "Well, I'm going to get the foundation work done." And they've done all this work. And the dad's like, and on a whim, gets the company to go out there, and they go back next week, and it's like, all over, and oh my God. Yeah. I felt so bad for them.
And the question is, does the foundation need to be repaired too?
I don't think it needed it on
Have
that
a structural engineer go in there.
Yeah, that's
look at it.
always the question, especially on a rental property. So the door swings a little bit.
Big deal.
You're not looking for an FHA loan.
Yeah.
You're doing it cash. You're looking for a cash flow property. When you go to sell it, it's going to hurt you on the resale price a little bit, just like it hurt you on
Buying it.
Hurt the original seller. Yeah.
Right. And so, you make a choice, and it's like, is the cost benefit worth it? In my case, a lot of times it was like, the foundation's a little hinky, but is it worth having to go through all the trouble to, do the repainting and all the resealing and it's like, or I could just rent it as is. And it's not, like I said, we're not slumlords. It was not like it was falling apart.
All properties are nice. Yeah.
It's not like it was falling apart, but it may have had issues if you tried to get it through an FHA loan. And that doesn't mean that the house is falling down or that it's prone to anything like that, but it means it doesn't meet the specification.
A first-time investor should probably not look at a home.
No. If I was a first-time investor, look for cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
Ugly homes.
Ugly ones, yeah.
Strong bones, but ugly.
Exactly.
Slab, probably a home with a slab, I'd recommend.
Maybe the yard is all, maybe it's all kind of filled up with weeds and stuff like that. And so,
an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Was there a death? Or was there some stigma?
Grandma and Grandpa's house, I think, is like the quintessential description. You're looking for a home that's been reasonably well maintained. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have massive damage. It's just excessively dated. All new flooring.
Exactly.
It's all aesthetics. Hopefully it'd be nice if it had a good roof on it. But that's the ideal home, in my opinion. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like a house in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not going to fall down.
No, it's been here for 60 years, right?
Yeah.
70 years.
Go in with a book and get someone to look at it. Like get an agent. If you're an agent investing for the first time, I'm sure Jeff, you'd be more than happy to talk to someone on it and give them an opinion. I'd be happy. And Jeff, you've dealt with investments too. Mm-hmm. We've all dealt with it. So don't go alone. Like I think that's a big thing in this is if you isolate. I've noticed that we had a couple times over the years where agents, they go to do investments and they would only talk to us after they've bought the property and they have problems.
Right.
And it's like, well, you already own the home. And if they had come and just had even just a 20-minute conversation, I'd been like, guys, are you sure those numbers are going to add up? What's your bid? That's
Exactly.
the bid. That does not seem reasonable.
When you make that decision, you need to not make it in a vacuum. You need, and if you're going to be investing your nest egg, don't trust an expert. If you got a guy, don't trust a guy. You can not saying that he's wrong, but take what he said and hey, Brad, what do you think about this? Jeff, my guy said this and
trust guys.
Yeah. So let's again spread it out across it and don't try to keep it to yourself. You learn a lot by doing that, and it's a blast. I enjoy doing it.
Cool. Well, Jeff, thank you for coming on and talking with us on this. I'm incredibly grateful for your wisdom and time.
It's fun. It's fun.
Look at he's all excited. Kim's I feel Kim going.
Hey, do you think we have another co-host?
Well, we could.
We could.
Jeff and Jeff.
The Jeff Show.
Jeff and Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Jeff.
Jeff Squared.
Hey, Jeff. Yes.
J2.
J2.
Oh, God. Well, I love you guys. We'll get this up and I'll get a copy for you also if you want to trim it up and such and make some shorts out of it. But you should be doing that on your investments, doing some social media shorts, and you're doing that.
What you need to do.
I'm going to send you the thing I just did. You'll see and understand why I'm not. I really have been strapped for time.
I feel you.
You want something for free advertisement?
What's that?
Get this copy, and he's already cut it from here.
Yeah.
But take this interview, and put it on your website.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do
I
that.
did that when I went to Champions.
I'm cutting it right now though, but I can cut that
Or
part
cut
out.
it